To Republican Senator Marco Rubio, now blasting Democrats Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, saying elected officials should not be playing politics with the coronavirus, trying to score points as people are getting sick and dying. Look who's here. 2020 Democrat presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard, the first female combat veteran to run for the presidency. The congresswoman from Hawaii is a war veteran of 2 tours of duty in the Middle East. Now a major in the U.S. Army National Guard, has served on foreign affairs, Armed Services, and Homeland Security committees. Thank you for your service, Congresswoman, and welcome. What do you make of the political attacks on the president over the response here?
Now is not the time to play politics. The president, leaders in Congress, the House, and the Senate, every American, we need to come together and treat this situation with the seriousness that it deserves, setting aside partisan bickering when really there is a very real threat to the health, well-being, and lives of the American people. We've got to treat this situation as though this is a wartime setting, except now the enemy is this virus that poses a threat to the lives of the American people. We've got to dedicate our best resources, doctors, scientists, training, testing kits. We've got to do all that we can to prevent this threat from taking hold and affecting the people in this country.
Yeah, we're watching this, what scientists are saying out of China and Europe, that this is stronger than SARS. It is an HIV-like mutation, means it has an ability in that sense to more powerfully bind to human cells. It's up to 1,000 times strong as SARS. To your point, Congresswoman, CNN's Brian Stelter tweeted this out, quote, "Since the dawn of the Trump era, countless experts have warned the president's lack of credibility will imperil the country in the event of an emergency." As the coronavirus outbreak worsens, those fears may be coming true. However, Congresswoman, CNN did cut out of the president's press conference last night, and Brian Stelter tweeted that out. Your reaction?
Well, yeah, once again, this is not the time for finger pointing. Now is the time for action. There are things that could have been done, should have been done sooner. We're recognizing where those gaps exist. Now is the time really for action. You know, we're seeing that there's a vast shortage of testing kits in this country, where the CDC has very narrow guidelines on who they are willing to test. I think the case in California very clearly pointing out where those gaps need to be filled. We've got to have testing kits at every single healthcare facility, testing kits at our schools, at our ports of entry, first responders. We've got to be able to make sure that those who are coming in and saying, hey, I have a concern, or those coming from countries where we're seeing coronavirus outbreaks occurring, they've got to be tested before they even get on that plane.
You know, the president is accusing Speaker Pelosi of trying to create a panic. The Associated Press did a fact check of the Democrats saying, you're wrong to say the president cut the budgets for the CDC, NIH. The president did make a budget request that has not been enacted. I want to move on to your reaction to what's going on in Iran and get your thoughts. Iran, the regime of Iran, accused of covering up the spread of the virus there and censoring it off the home pages of major local media to increase last week's election turnout to show that the hardliners are still in charge. Your reaction to what's going on in Iran?
Well, look, it's concern anywhere if they're not taking the precautions necessary to prevent the spread of this virus that poses a threat not only to the people of Iran or in China or Japan or South Korea or Italy, but we live in a very small global community. To approach this from an isolated perspective is a cause for failure for all of us. It's why I believe strongly, just as the administration says that they are working, they've got communications with leaders in Japan and South Korea, we also have to make sure that we are working with a country like Iran and not allow this adversarial relationship to get in the way of protecting the safety and security of both the American people and preventing this from becoming a pandemic that spreads around the world. I always talk about foreign policy as domestic policy. This is one example of why it's critical. As president, I'll lead with a foreign policy that's focused on cooperation rather than the kind of confrontational approach that we've seen that makes it almost impossible for us to work with other countries, even those whom we have serious differences on these areas of shared interest, like preventing a pandemic, like preventing or tackling counterterrorism, nuclear nonproliferation, and so many others.
You know, the cracks in the regime's credibility in Iran is increasing by the day. We have shown this video. We're going to show it again. It's truly unbelievable, Congresswoman. Iran's deputy health minister appeared on Iran state TV to deny covering up the scale of the outbreak, but he's literally visibly seen getting sick from the coronavirus on camera. He's now in quarantine. We've got now Iran's former ambassador to the Vatican has also passed away from the coronavirus, and Iran's vice president also has contracted it. So this same regime, and I know, Congressman, you're aware of this, has threatened the Middle East with ballistic missiles, drones, threatened to shut the Strait of Hormuz, is killing its own citizens. Are you seeing credibility issues now with this regime?
I think, again, it's important for us to stay very mission focused on this crisis and this threat that's before us. There's no question that there are issues there. There are longstanding concerns. The Iran foreign policy conversation is one that needs to happen in parallel to us being able to work with leaders in Iran, in Italy, in Japan, South Korea, China, all of these different countries that are experiencing these outbreaks in order to prevent their continued spread. We've got to approach this with a win-win mentality of saying, look, yes, in order for the American people to win and be successful in this, in preventing this threat from taking hold, we also have to work towards this win in preventing its spread in other countries around the world.
Back to the U.S. Final question before we go to commercial break. Congresswoman, are you hearing from other Democrats in the House that, you know, you shouldn't really be trying to score political points off the coronavirus outbreak?
Honestly, I'm not paying much attention to the chatter on the House floor today. When I went in for votes, I've really been focused on looking at where are the problem sets that exist in our country, in my home state of Hawaii. That is a major hub and port for flights coming in from across the Asia Pacific, and how we can solve them. It's why I called yesterday for us to temporarily suspend flights coming from Japan, South Korea, Italy, just like the flights from China were suspended, because that actually worked to help prevent this from getting to our shores. We need to suspend these flights until we have the ability to provide these tests at their site of departure before people get on the plane and come to our country.
What's been the reaction in Congress to your idea and the administration? Is it going to get done? Is that going to happen?
We'll see. I'm hoping that they react and recognize that that initial action taken to suspend flights from China nationally was the right step to take. And let's make sure we continue in that direction, understanding it may cause a little harm or hardship in the short term, but that will pale in comparison to the hardship placed on the lives of the American people and our economy if these flights are suspended after the fact, after the coronavirus further takes hold and root here in the country. We need strong leadership, and now is the time for that.
Congresswoman, you're kind enough to stay with us for another segment. We've got a lot more to talk about with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.